So as you can see, there are quite a few tools that go into working with venomous snakes and reptiles in general, especially if you want to care for them properly in captivity, with keeping your own safety in mind. So today I'm going to show you what different tools I use, what are my most frequented tools, and what tools suit which animals in a different way. So for instance, I'm not going to be handling a 1.5 meter snouted cobra with this, but something more like this, because that is the smart thing to do, and I will show you all about it in this episode, or this video, not episode. What am I talking about? So while it may be obvious why I choose to handle a snake like this with this hook stick over here opposed to something like this, other differences might not be as obvious with the handling equipment I choose to use. Don't worry, the snake's not coming close enough to you, Jotham. I will keep it far away from you. So with something like a snake like this, that's a large, heavy-bodied snake, it might be a lot better to use something like this double hook opposed to a single hook like this. And that is just because of weight distribution. You want to distribute the weight among the body nice and easily. So like that. We might even choose to go with the method of double hooking the animal, putting even less strain with one hook. So for a large bodied viperid like this, I do prefer to use a double hook, just distributing their weight among their rib cage a lot easier, and it's a lot gentler on their bodies. And as you can see, as I act calmly and my brother who is filming doesn't move around too much, the snake is very chilled out and not hissing whatsoever. But as soon as you start moving, making a commotion like that, he starts hissing. Well, she starts hissing. Let's not let her get under there. And as you can see, just like that, she's underneath the camera or filming light and moving quite fast because she wants to get away. So that's the main reason I use this double hook stick over here. I use it for nice larger bodied animals like this that don't tend to move as quickly, because it is a little bit harder to maneuver with a double hook stick, but these animals aren't particularly fast in their movement and locomotion, although they can be. So that's why I use this hook stick. Let's get on to some other species. As you can see, there's a heck of a lot of things behind me that I use for keeping venomous snakes and keeping me safe while I work with them. For instance, this over here is a respirator mask, so I don't have to breathe in any venom from spitting snakes, because once you breathe in venom, your body starts to create IgEs. Basically, that means you are overreacting to environmental antigens such as venom, and that makes you allergic to the venom. So if something ever does happen, it can drastically increase the odds of anaphylaxis, as well as speeding up the process of the venom, so making your chances not as good, if that makes any sense. So these over here are two of my most popular hook sticks and my most frequented hook sticks. Something like this has a nice reach, length and weight. This I tend to use it on larger elapids, whether that be snouted cobras, you name it. I will handle that snake with this hook stick over here, because I feel nice and comfortable using that hook stick on just about every snake. I also tend to use this little hook stick very frequently, whether that be for the small puff adder, the smaller Cape cobras, the runkels, you name it. I love this hook stick, not because it's solid, not only because it's just solid and it works, but because of the length. I feel I have a bit more control using a shorter hook on most snakes, opposed to having a long hook stick, not able to read the body language and feel the snake's muscle twitches to enable me to predict its next movement. And if you look carefully, you can see the difference between the hook shape. This is more of like a V-shape hook, whereas this is a U-shape hook. And there is a reason for that, and I'll get into that reason in a bit. Let me take out a snake. So over here we have the little Cape Cobra male, and as you can see, I'm using a small hook stick like this. This hook stick is one of my favorite hook sticks to handle snakes of this size with. And the reason for that is elapids tend to be a lot faster moving snakes than most of your viperids. But having said that, you do get some insanely quick and spastic vipers like your Bothrops. Those things are madness. With the hook stick and using this V hook stick on elapids and snakes that are also pretty good at climbing like your boomslangs that are an arboreal venomous colubrid, they are very good at climbing and they are a lot faster in the trees. So what this V hook stick does is it kind of shapes downward, so it slows the snake down from moving when it is in the hook stick, so you can kind of have a bit more control over it in that way. Whereas it's a lot easier for them to slide across a U hook stick like this. And it can make it just that much more difficult to handle a snake like this that is a little bit faster. Although this guy's really good on a hook and will ride any hook just with so much ease. But in general, elapids are pretty quick snakes, and using a V hook snake will help slow them down because it kind of puts their rib cage into a V and then they aren't able to move as quickly. The snake's doing some weird stuff backing off in my fingers right now. But either way, I am able to handle the snake and most snakes with either of the hook sticks I choose to. I just prefer using a nice hook stick like that small one back there. It's not a good thing to let the snake climb the hook stick, so let's put it on the ground. So back to my comfortable size hook stick for the snake. If anything happens, I have snake hooks all around the room. That's the one important thing I find with snake hooks. So if something happens, the snake takes this hook stick, I can put it down basically, and just in arm's reach away, I can grab another hook stick and pick up the snake. So, when choosing to hook a snake like this, a small juvenile Cape Cobra, I am not wanting to use this long 1.2 meter hook stick because I can barely reach the snake because it is so far away from me. And that's why I tend to prefer smaller snake hooks. They just feel like I have more control over the snake, but that is also personal preference. Now that you know the difference between a V-snake hook and a U-shaped, okay, that's not a U-shaped snake hook, where did I put it? Between a U and a V-shaped snake hook, which one are you going to use for what species of snake? I really love this short little hook. It just feels like it gives me so much control. But I also love this longer carbon fiber hook because it is extremely light, durable, and it's almost impossible to even bend it. It's incredibly strong, yet as light as a feather pretty much. So for your larger and longer elapids, you do get longer hook sticks that are V-shaped, and they're a little bit wider than the small ones just because generally longer snakes are also a little bit thicker bodied, and this will help slow down the snake, so when it's moving all around, it's not as easy for the snake to slither through a V-shaped hook as it is for the U-shaped hook. But having said that, you need hook sticks for different sizes of animals that you keep, unless you don't want to use hook sticks, which is also not the safest route to go. So for a smaller snake like the small little Angolan coral cobra, you'll obviously be using a lot smaller of a hook. Obviously this little guy does not want to be handled, so he is deciding to act all crazy and try and get off of this hook stick. Watch carefully, move my hands away very slowly. There we go. It's pretty obvious that you don't want to use a extremely large hook stick on a very small snake like this Angolan coral cobra. Another thing you can use to handle these snakes is something like a long set of these tweezers. Many people prefer to handle these snakes with these tweezers just because it may give them a bit more control, but it is all personal preference. I mean, you can handle snakes with pretty much anything that keeps them far enough from the bitey end to your hands or fingers or any appendages of your body. You can use anything, but it's personal preference as to what works better for you and in your circumstances. If you have a fast, flighty little snake, it might be a lot nicer to use the tweezers, just because you can kind of gently grab the snake so it doesn't escape from you when you're working with it, when you're opening the enclosure to feed it or clean. Such cute little personalities from these Kunene, Angolan coral cobras, whatever you want to call them. There's so many different names. That's why I prefer to also stick to scientific names. Aspidolaps lubricus cowlesi. Then there's a bunch of other stuff for keeping the venomous snakes safe. Also, like, I have a bunch of tubes so I don't have to neck the animal. That keeps me and them safe. And then different tweezers to pull off stuck shed, eye caps, you name it. Things can work out, because also when you receive a lot of animals, not all of the animals you receive will be in the best condition, and getting them back to the best condition, or the best condition you're able to house them in, may take a bit of work. I just did this video because I wanted to take a bit of a break from the moving series and show you what's been going on, because I'm kind of getting tired of editing the same thing over and over. So this is something new. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Remember to go out, learn, explore, inspire, and live it. Cheers.